Hey y'all, Little Drummer Boy here, and today I want to do a book review of a devotional book I just read called His Imprint, My Expression, Changed Forever by the Master's Touch by Christian author K. Arthur. And I want to first thank my cousin Terry Frazier up in Ohio who sent me this book, and a big shout out to her and David, her pastor husband up there. And anyway, this book is awesome, y'all. I mean, this is one of the best devotional books I think I've ever read. Some of it is really, really convicting, and other parts of it will really uplift you. But Author is a great Bible teacher, and she she's hard hitting. She steps on a lot of toes. This book is like super, super deep, and ironically, just like when you read the Bible, uh, it's right where you're at in your life. It's like every chapter. I read a chapter a day, and every chapter was like spot on for what I was going through at the moment. And like I had skipped this chapter on fear by accident, and I went back one day and found it right in the middle of this Wuhan virus epidemic. So and it was like, and I quoted a lot of verses and a lot of K's um, quotes from this book, and I put them on Facebook. To help people, to comfort people during this time of crisis, because the verses that she had put up about fear were just spot on. I'm like, I didn't have to look up fear verses; she already had them laid out for me. So anyway, it's a great book. I give it 5 stars, and as you see, now it did fall apart, but it's 1993. This copy is 1993, and I'm bad to put pins in my book because I mark my books up, as you can see, and um, so anyway, yeah, I think I mark my place a lot of times with my pens I'm using, and I think that was what tore up the book. But anyway, let's look at the contents, and it'll give you an idea what the book is about. Okay. When you wonder if life, these are the chapters. When you wonder if life has any purpose, when you feel out of focus, when you're suddenly shaken. Can anybody say Wuhan virus? Anybody? Who a month ago would believe the crap we're going through and having to endure now? None of us have ever seen anything like this in our lives. When you're dealing with what ifs, man, I got a million of those. What if I'd have done this different? What if I'd have done that different? If I'd have done this different, things wouldn't suck as bad as they do now. If I would have done this or that, my heart wouldn't be broken now. I wouldn't be lonely now. I might be married and have kids now. I might still have that job if I hadn't done that. So we all deal with a lot of what ifs. And a guy who told me that he survived a massive heart attack and God had completely healed his heart. It doesn't even show damage of it anymore. He just happened to see me when I was hiking at the covered bridge one day, and it was almost like an angel unaware sent to tell me. He said, because I'm going to be 50 this year, and he said, if you have a lot of regret, he said, guys in their 50s have a lot of heart attacks if they hold a lot of regret. He said, you got to flush it, just like you do when you use the bathroom. You got to flush your regrets. So yeah, there's a great chapter in here on dealing with what ifs. When you're wondering if God is enough, when God is silent, and man, is he silent sometimes. Like I said, I'm going on 50 and I've never married. I've been praying for a wife for 36 years since I was 14. And so y'all can pray for me about that. And just so many areas in my life that I prayed about. There's no sin or temptation in my life that I haven't prayed about extensively for decades, and God still seems to be silent, and it's very frustrating and depressing. But that was a great chapter on just because God is silent doesn't mean He's not working behind the scenes, and He wants us to be persistent in prayer. When pressures build up, when life is bitter, when your failures haunt you. I've got a lot of those too. Because most of y'all know I'm in recovery for alcohol, and my failures this last decade have definitely haunted me in my career and my finances, and even in my love life, because I've met some ladies in recovery who have just ripped my heart to pieces. When you think you can tolerate sin in your life, when you're tempted to settle for the temporal, when things go wrong, when skeptics question your God, and I've had to deal with a lot of those on Facebook. When you want to call it quits, when you're looking for evidence of genuine faith, when you're rejected or laughed at. That was his imprint of faith. And then his imprint of obedience, when you're disappointed, discouraged, defeated, when you're locked in a prison of difficult circumstances. When joy is shattered, when your joy is clouded over, when you're worried or anxious, when the world looks appealing, doesn't it though? When you're tempted, when you face trials, when you lack joy, when a day of adversity comes, like the days we're living in now, in April of 2020, when it seems nothing will ever change. That's my life story, it seems like. When divorce seems like an option, well, I wrote LOL beside that because I don't have to worry about that one. But, someday when I get married, and I hope it's for keeps, I figure it's better to wait a long time and get it right than marry the wrong one or to settle. When you're tempted to tolerate evil, when you're tempted to complacency, when you're tempted to not share the gospel, sin of silence, when you watch our foundations crumble, when life doesn't follow your plan. Anybody ever had that happen? The old saying, if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. When your heart aches, when the forecast is bleak, when you find it difficult to trust God, when you must stand against the tide, when you feel threatened, when you feel you can't go on, when you're gripped by fear, when the future is uncertain, when all you see is devastation. I mean, is that appropriate for the times we're living in, or what? When your expectations aren't in him, when you're unable to cope, when you're offered a crown without the cross, when you don't know where to run, when you get weary following the Lord, like the old Hank Williams song, I'm weary and blues from waiting. Lord, I've been waiting too long. These blues have got me crying. Oh, sweet mama, please come home. Anybody weary and blue from waiting? And now after singing that, I lost my place. When all you see is devastation, when your expectations aren't in him, when you're unable to cope, when you're offered a crown without the cross, when you don't know where to turn, when you get weary from following the Lord, there we go. When you're comforted by giants, when you feel far away from God, and then his imprint of grace. When you failed, when you must forgive, when intimacy with God seems impossible, when troubles and disappointments come, when all hope is gone, when you wonder if you can tell you're his, wonder if people can tell you're his. Sometimes we fit in like to the world and we're like chameleons, and sometimes, people probably do wonder if we're Christians because we don't act like it all the time. When fear strikes, when you're worn and weak from waiting, when you're concerned for a loved one, when you feel like a failure, when people ask you for advice, when you question God's faithfulness, when people need love and understanding, when you wonder if Jesus will ever come. The signs of the times, y'all. Signs of the time. Get ready. When you're tempted to please others, when your faith is tested. And these are all little short devotionals, perfect for a devotional a day. I mean, you can read through it in 5 minutes easy. They're usually like 3 to 4 page devotionals. It's 326 pages altogether. So yeah, anybody that's interested in doing a devotion, Adam and Rebecca, Laura and Court, my nephews and nieces, you guys, well, all of you, and I'm so thankful to have such a Christian family. All of you in my family would like this book. You really would. Mom's going to read it next. So I've given it to Mom to read next. But anyway, yeah, His Imprint, My Expression, Changed Forever by the Master's Touch by Kay Author. 5 stars. Y'all have a blessed day. If you like my content, like, share, and subscribe. And give me a big thumbs up on the bell icon so you can know when I upload another new video. Thank you and have a blessed day, y'all. Bye.